Well, we don't have to start the episode right away, but I need to make sure.
We're gonna have the wives yelling at us like.
I wonder if Bailey will text me if she's watching.
Ollie?
Allie?
Allie.
Alexandria?
Right. So how many times have you gotten that joke in your life? I'm sorry.
I'm telling you, Josh,
Easy.
I gotta teach you how to be a podcast host because you are totally just stealing all the gold. You know?
What do you mean? Like you should have talked before the show?
Well, we should just not talk before the show. You know?
I'm just gonna repeat all this again.
It's
so
true, but but you don't get the authentic
authentic,
reaction. I'm just
so.
kidding.
Yeah, when the camera rolls, I'll probably clam up.
No, don't clam up, dude. We're just shooting this crap.
Yeah.
You know? Kind of like we do around your bonfire, like at your house for bonfires. You know?
Right, because nothing will get canceled there.
we're totally. If we get canceled, that's the goal. That is the goal.
It's like, I'm not toasting to that. I'm not toasting to get canceled.
All right, let's start.
I got bills to pay.
Oh, what? I mean, you own you have your own
Me?
business. How
Me?
can they cancel?
You might have to hire me.
Seth, are you good at making signs?
Ladies and gentlemen, this is
No,
the
I'm-
show.
I'm
Show's starting very
harmless.
soon, chat. Just FYI, if you're on Facebook Live, show will be starting in about a minute. We're just setting everything up, so stay tuned and ready to go.
Can they hear us?
They can hear us. They can totally hear us. This is why this is why this
Sorry,
banter
Seth,
wins.
You got canceled.
Seth just got canceled. I think you should open that other beer there, though.
Seth's like, why did I agree to this?
Josh, can you open that beer right there for me? I don't know if it's twist off, but this is where your man card comes into play.
This is how I broke my knuckles last time.
But you have I was gonna say this is where your man card comes into play. You just whip out a can opener.
Yeah, how are you gonna open that? You can't. It's not a twist off.
Yeah, dude, have you not seen like the people where it's like boom
Yeah, you can do
or
that.
boom or use
Okay, do
another
that on
bottle
your- on
boom?
your,
Yeah, you can totally do it.
Are you? He's over 30.
Go run upstairs. Go run upstairs real quick. Can you do that, Josh?
40 pounds wet. I don't think I can do this.
Josh, run upstairs real quick and just get it open. That way before we start.
They just want to talk about me when I'm upstairs. Actually, I'm gonna pee real quick too, cause
Okay. All right.
liquids and
Okay, I gotta get some steps in. I'll be over here.
Yeah, do your thing. So is it between you and Allie, or
No, you sign off. A bunch of people sign off.
does that work right there?
Huh?
That works right there?
Yeah.
Oh, cool.
So you gotta get. They give you a goal. You have to hit your step goal every day. If you miss it more than once a week, you get kicked out, and everybody else gets their money.
So it's like fantasy football,
Well,
except.
it's steps and not.
Steps
I'm
and not-
dependent on myself.
Yeah. All right, I'll be back. Hold on. Lemonade.
get your steps in, Seth.
Okay.
All
Ready?
right, Seth, what if we name the episode Seth Rak, spell your way, and then do the dictionary?
All right, ladies and gentlemen, we're gonna start soon. Please stay tuned. Here we go. Everyone ready? Joshua, transgender, transethnic.
Hi.
Oh
Just
gosh,
got canceled.
we got canceled again. Okay, ready? Seth, ready? Let's do this. Okay, cool. Good. I'm just glad. All right, recording. I hope this works, man. I just completely defrag this computer, which means wipe it all and then reinstall everything. So I hope this works. But at least, hey, you see we're recording right here. And we're live here. So we'll do this. We'll half-seize it. Actually, I need to go to here. And 3. Oh, gosh.
I'm doing this, right?
Yep. You can hear it through my headphones probably, right? You can hear it through my headphones, right? 3, 2. Ladies and gentlemen, starting the show. Welcome to Bad Catholic Dads.
Hello, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to the Bad Catholic Dad podcast. I am your host, Josh Namus, and I am super excited to be here talking to these two fine gentlemen. Co-hosting with me, we have the OG Catholic Dad host, John without an H. Perez. John, how's it going,
What's
man?
up, man? I'm excited for this episode.
Dude, me too. Yeah,
One could say. What could one say about this episode, Josh?
I think it's gonna rock. I think it really is.
He already regrets being here with us. I can already tell he regrets being here with us.
That was a BCD joke. You'll find out in a second.
Just thinking how boring I can get.
I'm excited for this one though, for sure.
John. Well, first off though, John, you had a pretty exciting weekend. What'd you do this weekend?
Yeah, man. We went to the Eastern Shore. It was my mother-in-law's 67th birthday. Shout out to my mother-in-law. For making 67 years. I don't know what else to say about that one. But she ended up getting a resort or getting a hotel/resort for all of us, my family, my brother-in-law's family, and then my mother-in-law and my father-in-law. And we just relaxed at the hotel the entire time. It was so much fun. Views were beautiful. It was Eastern Shore, which I don't really go to that much. And it was actually my very first time being on the Maryland side of the Chesapeake Bay Bridge.
Oh, nice.
Than
yeah.
the Virginia Beach side of the Chesapeake Bay Bridge. Because growing up, we would go to Jersey because my family's from Jersey, and we would just take the Chesapeake Bay Bridge on the Virginia Beach side, which is, I think it's the longest bridge/tunnel on this side on this hemisphere or something like that. And but this was my first time being on this side.
Nice. You know, I think I got you beat there. That sounds a lot of fun. I cut grass, and let me tell you, I watched a lot of Dora this weekend.
Nice.
Cecilia was on a Dora binge, and it was nice. It was nice.
Cool.
But yeah, okay.
Swiper, no swiping, dude.
Dude, swiper, no swiping. All right. Well, want to introduce our guest? He's already.
He regrets being here. He knows. He's seeing like the camaraderie here. He's like, why the hell did I sign up here, dude? But we're glad to have you, dude.
We are. So we just want to introduce you guys to Seth Rak, which is why this show
is going to rock.
I'm sorry I had to explain that. That's bad. I feel like that ruins the joke. Welcome, Seth. Welcome.
Seth, thank you for being here.
Glad to be here.
Yeah. So, Seth, I mean, we usually start out just with a little introduction.
Well, why are we having Seth on? What's the point of having him on?
Well, I mean, he's an interesting guy. I mean, he's a giant. Why wouldn't you want to? No, okay. So
can
Seth
we Seth, the one thing that we wanted to ask before we get into your life story and obviously your faith and
before
your family.
everybody knows me, there's something you want to ask?
Yeah.
Okay.
What was your first impressions of Josh and I when you first met us? Did you have any first impressions, or because we definitely had some first impressions of you?
First impressions? Well,
yes, honest. I don't want the lies.
No, we don't want the lies.
I don't want
not the
fake
time to
news.
lie.
I mean, honestly, you know, and not that there were other families we hung out with before.
Yeah.
But some of them, not all of them, but some of them, like the dads never came to some of the parties or that we had or get-togethers, or they would come and not stay. And there's actually a few I still haven't met, and I've lived in Southern Maryland for 13 years, and we've kind of been in that social circle for 9. So I kind of appreciated that, you know, there were dads who would show up to what we were doing. So it was just kind of nice having, you know, other men around to
Right.
talk with, watch football,
That is always a perk.
whatnot.
Yeah, I
That
mean
is
it is
always a
nice.
perk.
Yeah, I remember.
Was that too nice? Is
no,
that
I
ruin
think-
what we're
no,
gonna
I
say?
think
I was
it's-
looking for something a little more
Well,
brutal.
I was gonna say the first time. I think the first time I ever like really met you. Obviously, we've seen each other at church at St. Joseph's, but I think the very first time I met you was the Advent party that you guys hosted. I think it was like 2 years ago at this
No,
time.
it was last year.
Was that last
It was
year?
last
It's
year.
just this year's been
Yeah.
one. This
It's
year's
1
felt
year
like 2
plus
years.
another
Yeah.
one. Yeah.
So it seems like a lifetime ago.
But yeah, I remember just I really didn't know anybody there. I think we just met people. It was like our first time going out of our social circle, especially being friends with people in Southern Maryland, because we didn't have any friends in Southern Maryland, and we've been praying a long time. We talked about this last week, but we were praying for people to meet good people in Southern Maryland, because we don't want to keep hanging out with people outside, taking 40 minutes to get to someone's house, And I remember we went to your guys' house, and you showed me downstairs. Do you remember this?
Yeah.
We were just watching football, and I was like, yeah, this guy's real cool. We're just watching football, talking whatever, and I was cool with that. I think a big part of the reason why I do kind of like you is because you're kind of like me. I feel like you're a little more introverted. Would you say that? Then I think
then
wife.
then
Then your wife.
I feel like-
gonna say then your wife.
I
Yeah,
mean,
100%.
Allie makes Donald Trump seem like an introvert.
you
you
said
know,
the
that's
D- you said the D
interesting.
word.
I
Oh.
actually I don't know if it's introvert extrovert, but I have a hard time in like group settings where there's a lot going on.
Right.
So I might seem shy. It's just because when there's music playing and games going on and kids running around, I have a hard time keeping up with the conversation. I always have. Like background noise has always been something that makes it difficult for me to like hear in a group situation. So yeah, in that group setting, it's a little bit more difficult for me. But I actually enjoy like one-on-one conversations,
Yeah.
meeting people,
And
knowing
I feel
people
like that's
that
kind of
way.
like how I am, and
Yeah.
probably how you are too, Josh.
Yeah.
It's like when we're in a group setting, like our voices might not be heard the most, but when we're in it's really those one-on-one conversations where we can really just shoot the crap with someone,
Oh yeah,
And I think that's when I just remember you taking me downstairs, and we were just watching football, talking about a plethora of things.
Well, I needed somebody else to
But-
watch the kids with me.
yeah, sure. Boom, there it is.
Perks of
But
another
you have
dad.
a interesting. What were you talking
Oh,
about
yeah,
earlier?
no,
Your
my-
first impression of
My first impression of Seth was
Seth.
so Seth. You don't know this, but this is one of the first times that Angie and I went to St. Joseph.
I'm gonna seriously.
Oh, hold on. Do I gotta eat it?
Yeah.
All right.
If you're gonna, because you like to look at and talk to people. I don't necessarily have to look at someone and talk to them. I could be like,
So where should I be looking right now?
just at each other. It's
Okay.
So before we get to your thing,
Y-
the Bad Catholic Dads, right? It's a podcast by Catholic dads for Catholic dads, and the biggest thing about this podcast is we don't like to. I mean, we can be, but it's really not about being informative or really about putting like a belief into someone's throat. It's more about having conversations so we can be a witness to other dads like us, right? And so when we
So you
when
find
we
that camaraderie.
when we talk when we say like we're just having a conversation, really it's just we're at your house in front of the bonfire. But this time we have mics in front and we have people watching for
People-
sure. That's
yeah,
kind of how
watching.
I explain
No-
it.
no
Would you
pre-
say
no
that's
pressure.
probably correct?
Yeah, that's great. No pressure with the
No
people-
pressure.
People watching.
No
But,
pressure.
but no, yeah, just pretend we're around the pit. Seth's
Exactly.
got this sweet fire pit that he had a little bit of time on his hands recently. I don't
Dude,
know. I
that
don't know
was
why.
awesome,
And
man.
so he decked out this like fire pit
Yeah,
section.
that was a
and,
fun.
so
That was a
we-
really fun day
we-
too.
No, wait. Are we allowed to say that we were over? Or are we gonna get?
Yeah,
Are
with
the state police gonna come up?
No,
Okay, we're good,
the
we're good.
regulation said we were well within regulation.
Okay,
Outside,
good.
so
What a
Okay.
crazy time, dude. We'll probably get to that for
Yeah.
sure. I would love to talk to you about all the kind of lockdowns and I want to know what you guys, especially what you guys did, like that February, March, April-ish
Oh my gosh, yeah.
time. That must have been crazy.
Yeah.
But yeah. Anyway, your
Okay,
first
so,
impressions. Go
my
ahead.
first impressions of Seth. So it was like Angie and I, like first, second time. We were new to St. Joseph, and yeah, I wasn't Catholic at the time. Wasn't a dad.
Boo.
I know. But St. Joseph was cool. People seemed pretty cool, and for Catholics. Oh gosh. And so Angie and I park, and we're like walking into the church, and I just see this giant, like a 7, 8, 7, 9. How tall are you?
7 foot, right?
6 foot on the dot.
No, you're
not an inch more.
No.
Well, okay. Well, as someone who's 5'5" and 140
he
pounds,
is
soaking
lying.
wet.
6 foot.
You're like 7 something to me. So, anyways, I see this like giant hulking out of his van, and he's got like 2 kids on one arm, and he's got like another kid like wrapped around his leg that he's just kind of walking into church with, and then his wife who's with him, and she's pregnant, and they're walking into church, and I just like I look at Andrew, I'm just like, goals, like that's
gosh.
awesome. That is awesome. The fact this man's got enough energy to not only like get up for church, but he's got these kids. He's just hulking them in there. Like I was like mad process. So yeah, when I first saw you, I was like right there. I mean, I'm not gonna get to like the
So
7-7.
you must have been late that day.
I was gonna say one of the things I respect about Seth is we first found out like there's this rivalry going on between me and Seth, who's gonna be last and come to church.
But now we're good.
That was pre-COVID
yeah,
though.
We've been on time. It's been better. When you take something away, it makes you appreciate.
Oh yeah,
100%. I think that's the key. Like, COVID really made us appreciate Mass.
Oh yeah, for sure.
Appreciate the sacraments, man.
I started wearing a tie.
Started wearing a tie. I never saw you wear a tie before.
That was Exodus 90. It did that to me. They started guilting you towards the end of it. They were like, "You should wear a tie." No.
But yeah, I would see like I would roll in, and then I would see it would be like Seth's van or like the Rock family's van, our SUV right behind it. Like, dang it, he beat me this week, dude. All right, let's get to it. Get to it.
Well, yeah, Seth. I mean, first I want to kind of hear your story. I mean, you're a boy from Buffalo, and you somehow made it to Charles County, Maryland. How did it? What's the story behind that?
I grew up in a small town between Buffalo, New York, and Rochester, New York. And by small town, I mean I graduated with 57 other students.
Nice.
Somehow in 6th grade, we had a 6th grade graduation. There was like 80. I don't know what happened to the other 23. But it went from like 80. No, it wasn't COVID. From 80 down to 57.
Oh, man.
I was, I wasn't a great student, but I did okay. And I went to a community college, and sports was like my thing. I played soccer, I ran track, but the sport I had the most success in was wrestling. And I
wouldn't want to try to.
I was recruited by one college.
Oh,
so,
for which sport?
For wrestling.
Okay.
It was a community college that national aspirations. They've had national champions.
That's awesome.
I don't know if you follow MMA, but Rashad Evans.
Okay.
I wrestled with him.
Wow.
So,
that's cool.
he won a national championship
who
a year
won?
after I left. Who? It's funny. I remember. Now, Rashad was great, but I do remember, and he'll probably hunt me down even though I haven't talked to him in 20 years. I remember taking him down in practice one day.
I
wanted to throw that out there.
Dude, there's always that story where like, dude, dude,
like,
when I was in
now I was a 197 pounder, and he wrestled 165.
Sure.
So, and actually after I left N-Trip, we called it Niagara County Community College. I went to Ithaca College, and when I was there, they found out I knew Rashad because they wanted him to come to Ithaca, and we recruited him. And last time I saw him, it was like, hey, did you have a good time? He's like, oh yeah, I'll be back in the fall. And between then, the party or whatever, when we had him over, he got a forward to Michigan State and went D1, and then ended up going MMA. But I did not get a forward to Michigan State or anything like that.
Right.
So I went to Ithaca College and worked on my undergrad in physical education. I wanted to, wrestle. Being a wrestling coach, phys ed was the way to do it.
Right.
And I wrestled there, a little bit of success, not enough. I never qualified for nationals, but I made it to the finals of a few tournaments my senior year, which was my 5th year. For some reason, I thought I could maybe qualify for nationals if I stayed an extra year, so I added health education as a degree, and which I didn't make nationals, but I ended up wrestling with a freshman who turned out to be my wife's brother, so that was kind of how the connection there.
Cool. Now,
go ahead.
before we get to you meeting your wife, because I think that's kind of where we're leading to. Are you convert or are you
No,
cradle Catholic?
I was born Catholic.
Okay. What was your faith like growing up? Was your parents always taking you to mass?
Oh
or?
yeah.
Okay.
We were. I mean, I was talking with Allie about this because I think we heard a good homily today, and I was talking with my wife and saying, it's too bad we didn't hear that homily 30 years ago, and she's like, well, you had a strong priest, and we did. We had a priest that stuck with our church for like 40 years, and he was embedded in the community, very strong, very religious, very strong advocate for Catholicism. But, she's like, do you think it was just taken for granted? And I go, I do. I think like it was just like assumed that Catholics thought a certain way and certain things were overlooked. So even though, and that, I would say even relating to like my parents were and are strong Catholics, but there's certain things that maybe weren't like drilled or spoken about just because it was like taken for granted.
Right, and I think that's
assumed.
I think that's the big thing with cradle Catholics, and that's why I have so much respect for converts, is because converts really take a look at the faith and everything with the faith, where cradle Catholics, even though our faith is strong at points, there's a lot taken for granted, and that's kind of how I feel growing up too.
Converts go into it and go, "There's no way that's true," and then they like start researching, like, "Oh crap!"
Yeah,
and then they research more, and it's like, "Oh crap!"
But you make a choice to kind of believe it, and you also learn it at an age that it makes sense to you,
right?
Or you know what I mean, like. It's great being a kid and going through the sacraments, but at the same time, you haven't reached age where you're really questioning things yourself.
Right.
So, I mean, and I think they both have their advantages, disadvantages.
Right,
whatnot.
for
but
sure.
by the same token, like, that, because again, my wife's a convert, so
right.
So
I can relate for sure. I mean, she would come home saying things. It's like, I should probably brush up a little bit.
Right, for sure.
Well, I was gonna say, is there stuff that you kind of took for granted that I guess having your wife really challenged you? Like, did you find yourself getting stronger as your wife was?
I would say actually before now. She might have hated Catholicism before, but. We had to go to pre-Cana, and she kind of came kicking and screaming.
Dude,
Same.
that sounds
but
familiar,
it
dude.
turned to be like a really good experience.
Same.
And that was kind of like the first time when
Same.
like my faith grew, because the priest there put things in a way that I could relate to and made sense.
Right.
And it was like that was really eye-opening for me. So they was kind of like the seeds there, and she ended up not hating it, which means she was willing to go and sing in the choir when our priest at the time asked her to. So, and that just kind of like led her to being, her formation into the church. And then, but yeah, definitely she would. I mean, it was definitely like challenging me in my faith when she would come home and explain something she learned while going through RCIA.
What was your faith like in college?
Not good.
Yeah.
I would say, unfortunately, probably typical.
Yeah.
Like I would go to mass when I was home, which was, fairly often.
Right.
On campus, very rarely.
Right.
Like the intent was always there.
Right.
The intent was always there, but I got home late from a tournament,
Sure.
or I got, so yeah, it wasn't great. It wasn't gone. But it wasn't great, and there was never a point where I didn't consider myself a Catholic.
Right.
But yeah, it was lacking.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So did you ever go through like that?
Don't tell my parents that, by the way.
Did you ever?
I already tweeted it.
Canceled.
My dad texted me he did. He just started texting like a year ago, so he's texting me today.
Nice.
So, like he might be on Facebook.
Hi, Seth Rak's dad. Mr. Rock. Mr. Rock, please.
You caught yourself.
What did did you have the questioning moment? Because the way I tell my story is I was a cradle Catholic, always took it for granted until I said, went through the college atmosphere, partied, blah, 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 name it all. And eventually I was like, there's got to be more to life than this, you know? And that's what led me back to the church. Did you ever have that moment, or was it, because I do want to get to you meeting your wife. Was that, did you ever get to that moment of like questioning like your faith, or was it through Ollie that you, I don't know, you tell us, you know?
Did I ever have that questioning moment?
Right.
Yes, but it wasn't because of like departing or whatever. I mean, I would say it might have been rolled into that. You know, I was part of a sports team, and we definitely had our good time. It was actually there was I don't know if you know this. I love talking about economics, rolled into politics,
Nice.
social stuff, right?
Yeah.
And we had an atheist libertarian who somehow ended up living at a friend's house that we always hung out at. And I said something about Christmas. Well, I just love the Christmas season. And he goes, and I didn't know he was an atheist. He goes, why? I go, well, it's great. He goes, should you feel that it's just Christmas? You know, you should feel that way all the time. Like, but it's nothing to do with Christmas.
Right.
You know, you should let go of that religion.
You should
And I
carry
never
the Christmas season with you.
Well, no,
Well, it's not
but
even that.
I'm just.
it's
I
not
know,
even
I know,
that.
I just
It's
trolling.
really
But-
just like there should be nothing.
Right.
And he was, you know, he was a really, really, really smart guy. Like, really smart. A little bit manipulative.
Sure.
Really manipulative. I'm not
Sure.
going to get into his backstory right now. But really smart guy. So there was, like, a little bit of a, you know, like, and it never, I don't think it ever led me away from the faith. But there was a little bit of questioning then for sure. Because there were things that happened in my life, like a car accident that, it's like, well, why did I survive this? You know, where I kind of split the uprights between two oak trees, you know, it's like, and flipped the car over, and,
Right.
you know, how it is, you know what I mean? So, like, to me, that was like affirmation that, you know,
There's a reason.
Right.
Yes.
There's 5
So-
good ones sitting upstairs.
Well, yeah. But,
Yeah.
you know,
But
the
at
car
the time,
accident-
but at the
But
time,
the
it's
time,
like
yeah,
you
yeah,
don't,
no,
you
it's
don't realize
it's
it.
cool
It's
that-
like-
those things
you know,
happen, and then you're like, oh god.
Well,
Yeah.
that was
100%.
before, you know, so there was like kind of the bedrock of my faith before. But then in
Exactly, yeah,
college,
yeah.
when you're not going to mass, and, you know, you have somebody that, you know, like philosophically, like him being a libertarian, it's like he's making sense.
Right.
You know, then he says that, it's like, well, it makes you question a little bit. Well, how do I reconcile these two things, or, you know, whatever.
So I feel like sometimes you need those kind of people though. Like you pray for their soul, you know, for their
Yeah.
souls, but like sometimes you need somebody that kind of pushes you. Because that's when you kind
Yeah.
of drill down. Like I was that to my wife. Like I drilled my wife about like things in Catholicism, like purgatory, or why you Catholics worship Mary. You know, I did all these things. And Angie was like, "There's a good reason. I don't have it right now, but I'll look into it." And she did. You know, she's like, so I ended up making my wife more Catholic.
Well, he was really smart, but we had really smart guys. I mean, we would, like how we talk on the bonfires, like that was every day in college.
Right. Yeah.
You know, really
yeah.
successful guys.
100%.
You know, that you know, there's one that he's a surgeon up in Buffalo now. There's another one that I think he works for New York Times. He used to work for the Baltimore Sun. You know, just like really,
Just kidding. I'm just kidding.
he's a good guy. I mean, he
Cool.
actually, really good guy. So
Very cool.
yeah, so like really successful thinkers.
Right. So let's
Maybe
Let's
we
move
move
on.
on to Allie.
Allie. Yeah.
That's it. Yeah.
How'd that happen?
I wrestled with her brother in college. He was I think a few weight classes below. I needed somebody to drill with. So, you know, he was a freshman. I was a 5th-year senior. I drilled with him a lot. I found out he lived in the city of Lockport, which is a half an hour away from where I grew up. So, you know, when you're in college, you go back and you wrestle with your high school team when you have a few weeks off for winter break, for Christmas break. And my team was not good at the time. They didn't have a heavyweight for me to work out with. Well,
Nice.
Linden, my small town, Lindenville.
Right.
So he's like, hey, I have this heavyweight you could come wrestle with. He's really good. You can show him a few things. So, you know, I drove out to his house. I'm like, okay, I'll pick you up. We'll go to practice. Well,
nice.
he goes, I go to pick him up, and, you know, his sister comes.
man.
No. His sister comes down the stairs.
You know what I'm talking about, dude?
Oh, yeah.
Like,
His sister comes down the stairs, and I'm like, is she coming to practice? and he goes, yeah, she's dedicated. I'm like,
Wait, did
okay.
Allie wrestle?
No, she was her manager.
Okay.
And so
Oh,
she would
really?
come in and help
I
out
can
or
see
whatever.
that. Allie, I
oh,
can see Allie
100%,
managing
dude.
the, wrestling team.
100%.
You
Sorry,
know,
Allie,
like
if you're watching.
she was still in
Nothing to
high
apologize for. She's she's a very organized woman.
She definitely is.
She was still in high school at the time, and I actually took a head coaching position, a phys ed position, outside of Rochester, and she was still managing while I was there. But like, I would hang out with Brian when he would come back from Ithaca, and it was great because he had his sister just got her license, and I would. When we'd be out at bars, I couldn't drive home. We used to call her, and she used to pick us up or whatever.
Nice.
And I would wake up on a couch, and they would be really loud. They were a really loud family, and I would just be like, I can't handle this. So
what's
I'm out of here.
Allie's maiden name?
Petty.
Okay.
Yeah,
Cool.
Petty.
Cool.
So we I don't know. She turned 21, or she was going to turn. We hung out at a New Year's party.
Were you guys just always like you were friends with the brother before?
Yeah, I was good friends.
But you
with
were
the
but
brother.
like
She was the sister that we used to pick us up at the bar. You know, like who used to yell at us when we start throwing snowballs at each other at 3:00 in the morning and whatever.
Nice.
So. Yeah, so then there was a New Year's party, and I came in with great grace, and I had a bottle of wine and like a pecan pie or something, and I put it on the table, and the table crashed, and whatever.
How many pecans were in that pie? Like, what
way
happened?
too many. Way too many. So whatever, it turned out, but she told somebody like, well, I'm gonna flirt with Seth tonight, or I don't know, or we ended up talking, or
was she? So she was interested in you before
Yeah,
you were interested in her, or
I guess I was a guy.
Yeah.
So
Just like whoop.
yeah. So, but we ended up talking quite a bit, and then when she turned, she's like, "Well, you have to come to my 21st birthday." So I'm like, whatever, like. Sure.
Typical guy.
So, talking about texting, I got my first text message from her like, "Hey, do you want to hang out?" And it took me 3 hours to figure out how to respond, and I did. Like,
nice.
Sure, So,
Classic Seth response.
yeah, we hung out on her 21st birthday and whatnot, and
Cool.
And then I got the urge to, we went out on a few dates, and
That was
then I
it.
flew to Greece when she went over there.
That's right.
Wow.
Cool.
So wait, how long in the relationship before you flew to Greece with her?
So we started kind of dating after her birthday, which was July 14th. So not long. It was like 2 months. I don't think, like, we weren't really serious, but she kind of sent me an email like, "Hey, are you surviving without me?" And of course I replied, "I've survived 27 years without you." So, I don't know what you're talking about. And
That's
but
awesome.
for some reason, like, we emailed like every day when we weren't like expecting to, and we talked. Like, I ended up buying like phone cards, and we ended up talking a lot more. I used to play floor hockey Thursday nights in Buffalo, and go to a bar and stay out till 3 or 4 in the morning.
Nice.
And that's when she would be getting up, and I would give her a call like, "Hey, I'm going home." So for some reason, like we ended up talking quite a bit more, and she had a really bad day. So I threw in an email like, "Well, why do I come see you?" Kind of like, hey, not really expecting too much of a response.
Yeah.
And she responded, "Yeah, sure, that would be great. I spent all day looking up how to get a passport, and you could get his plane ticket." So I said, "Okay." And I, took a small loan and got on a plane Tuesday before Thanksgiving and stayed through Sunday.
Were you guys official at this point? Like, were you guys already dating, or what was it like?
It's kind of funny. I was at a bar, and for some reason, there was like some other girl brought girls for me to meet, and she texted me like, "Do you think we're boyfriend girlfend?" or something like that.
Allie texted you?
Yeah.
Okay.
And I was
Allie know
like,
that there were
"Well,
other-
what do you think?" And she's like, "Yeah, I think I want to start calling you my boyfriend."
Okay.
So I was
Cool.
like, "Okay."
So you had to
Dude.
break some ladies' hearts.
Wow. I don't
You
know
broke
about
the
that,
ladies'
but-
heart.
Oh man, there it is.
Yeah.
So, fast forward, you guys. obviously date. How long did you guys date before you finally popped the question?
How
Or
long
was
did
it
we
you that
date?
popped the question?
No, I popped the question.
Okay.
Too long.
Too long. Okay.
Dude, same.
So I don't think we're coming up on 2 years about. Okay, so it was my birthday when I did. The
Nice.
funny thing was, like, I bought the ring before Valentine's Day, and there was like 5 or 6 opportunities I wanted to, and then it did work out. So then finally on my birthday,
You're like, screw it.
I was like, well, it might ruin my birthday, but whatnot,
Yeah.
So she says no, that would have been bad, but
Worst birthday ever.
she did.
Cool, man.
So I ended up being the best birthday ever.
There you go. That's awesome.
Well, this kind of going a little bit forward now. I know that Allie, really wanted to have you on the podcast to talk about kind of like what's going on in the education system and stuff like that, especially with how we've been impacted with COVID, things like that. So I know like you got married, and I know Allie worked in the inner city, and you've been working in the public school system too for some time. So first off, like, what got you into working in the public school system? Because that's a calling. Like it doesn't seem like it's very easy. My brother's a private school teacher, and I know that's kind of taxing on him, and I can only imagine what it's like working in the public school system.
Like I said earlier, like I probably wanted to coach. Like coaching was probably my main driving force when I was working on my undergrad. But I had one job coaching and teaching high school phys ed, and it was my first one. I kind of bombed, so I wasn't there anymore. And the superintendent from the high school from the school district I went to in Lindenville needed a phys ed teacher to do a summer school / camp for kids with disabilities. So I did, and it was just students with intellectual disabilities, students, deaf students, wide range, and I kind of loved it. I just loved the whole experience. So that kind of like, that changed what I wanted to do. So that led me to do this thing called adapted physical education, which is working with kids with special needs. And then I worked at a school as an instructional assistant / teacher aide,
Right.
With similar populations, but behavior kids, but really kids that couldn't handle public education.
How long after you graduated when you got that job? Like, how old were you around roughly when you started doing that?
My first year of teaching, I was 23, and then I spent 5 years at the school in Buffalo. It was a nonprofit school. So like 24 to 28, 29, right in there.
Real quick, before we even get to, I guess, whatever, career, stuff like that, Buffalo to Charles County, have we got there yet? Or was it kind of like, how did you get from Buffalo to Charles County?
So
we've probably talked about this
sure,
before.
I can
explain.
just
real quickly, I guess. Yeah.
I was finishing up my master's degree at SUNY Brockport.
Where's that at?
That is between where I live on Lake Ontario and it's outside of Rochester, New York.
Okay.
So, and it's kind of like one of the best schools for adapted physical education. The guy that wrote the book on adapted physical education went there, and I was lucky enough to have my master's degree funded. I was going to class. I didn't feel well. Like I was sick. I was late. And he's like, "Is Seth Rak here?" After I finally got there, I don't think he's here, but I hope he comes see me. Or I need him to come see me. And I'm like, "Is he gonna kick me out because I was late? Like what?" So I did really well on a test. And he's like, "I want you to be part of this grant." So and
nice.
It paid for my my grad work, and I got a stipend, which was great because I was making like $10 an hour as a instructional assistant.
Nice.
So, how did I end up in Maryland?
Yeah.
I was working on, I think I was finishing up my synthesis or one of my last classes, and they talked about I had to present. And they go like, "Well, you're going to have to present in the fall." And I raise my hand and I go, "I'm going to be working in Maryland. Like, you're going to have to," and they're like, "Well, do you have a job?" I'm like, "I just know I'm going to be working in Maryland."
Huh.
Wait, how did you, where did that come from? Like, I don't understand.
Well, Ailey, so we weren't engaged yet, but we were kind of getting serious, like thinking about a little bit more long term.
Right.
And she had got placed in Philadelphia.
Right.
Getting a job in Pennsylvania, like, I don't think the certificates were reciprocal. But I looked at the map and I saw counties that were close enough that, would it be too hard to commute? Oh, yeah, up in northern Maryland. Yeah, Cecil County and Hartford County.
I was wondering if you worked in Pennsylvania.
There actually were 2 jobs, or I believe there was a job in Howard that I saw and a job in Hartford County that would have been perfect. Well, what happened was, I applied or didn't get a call, but the adapted phys ed teachers from Charles took those positions, and they opened it up for me.
Wow.
So that's how I ended up down here. The lady that hired me, the funny story is, the lady that hired me, like, they took a few days to call, right? So I had saw a girl that I taught in high school outside of Rochester in the library working, right? And she's like, hey, what are you doing? I'm like, I just got a job in Maryland. She goes, Charles County? I go, yeah. She goes, oh, I just turned them down.
Wow.
So, so I'm like, oh, that's nice. I'm their second choice. But the lady that hired me, like, to the day, like, I used to see her, and she would say things like, we knew you were the one.
You're a liar.
Gotcha.
Yeah, like, I mean, I never told her. She retired. She was nice. She was actually really good at her job, and whatever. I don't mind. I've been here for 13 years. I have a really great position. Cool. So, but so that was kind of funny. It worked out though.
That's awesome, dude.
So
awesome.
at that point, you and Allie weren't married. So she was working in Philadelphia, or you were working
in
so Maryland.
We spent 2 years. So I guess it was over 2 years. Well, we got engaged.
Tell us
May
the story.
2nd.
It was your birthday?
It was my birthday. We went to the Inner Harbor. I probably botched it, but whatever.
Well, obviously not. You've got four kids.
No, we had a nice dinner in an Inner Harbor. It's actually probably the only time I've been to an Inner Harbor. So, and
in Baltimore, right?
Yeah, in Baltimore.
Cool.
Went by the aquarium. And
nice. I know that place. Have you been to Baltimore?
Oh, yeah.
It's beautiful, dude.
I
mean,
went to
that
ABC,
part of Baltimore is beautiful.
Not all of Baltimore, but there's some nice areas.
Yeah, 100%.
Yeah.
Cool. Nice.
Yeah, so, okay. Well, that kind of brings us to the price. Well, I guess Allie finished up in Pennsylvania, and you guys got married, moved down.
And
where'd you guys get married at? In Buffalo or here?
We got married at her Episcopal church in St. Joe's.
Okay.
So that's kind of like how she got brought into the church, is that...
Oh, yeah.
She asked about, well, do you want to get married in it? It did not matter to her whatsoever.
Okay.
And I'm like, yeah, it's kind of important,
Wait,
so
you were thinking that already, or
yeah.
Okay.
Oh yeah.
Did you have to get a dispensation?
So it was actually co-officiated. So we had.
Oh, okay, cool.
It was pretty cool. So the priest. So we went. I don't know. Were you guys here when Father Mark was here?
No.
So we went to talk to Father Mark, and he's like, actually.
Was this
so
I called St. Joe's already, or
yes,
where were you
St.
going
Joe's.
when you were always going to St. Joe's?
My
Is that Allie?
Yeah. My wife wanted to say, was it co-officiated? It's with dispensation from the bishop. So to make that clear to
Don't you love wives, Josh?
to
Wives are the
everybody
best,
out
dude.
there.
There she goes.
We-
There she goes.
We
This is
had a dispensation.
There you go.
So
Did she literally text that right
my
now?
Text.
yeah, she did.
Allie, you're the
So,
woman, dude. She's the woman for sure.
So I went to Father. I don't know how it went. I went to Father Mark, who was here.
You're about to get another text coming.
And I called my my second childhood priest, because I went to St. Joe's in Lindenville, and he goes, well, you have to work through your priest in Maryland. So I'd been to St. Joe's a few times, like I wasn't going regularly, but like I was really trying to start to make the effort to.
Mm-hmm.
So I started going more, and then we went and met with Father Mark down here, and so we went through like the pre-Cana process down here. But the cool thing was I had the priest that took over our parish when I was like a senior in high school. So he was there, and he was a strong priest. But also the priest that retired that did my baptism, first confession, first communion, he was able to sit on an altar for our marriage too.
Oh, nice. That's
so
cool.
that was pretty cool. I mean, he passed away a few years ago, but Like again, he was a strong priest,
and so just my question was, you're obviously cradle Catholic. Allie's not Catholic at this time you guys are getting married, or were you? She probably won't, I don't know if she'll admit this or you'll admit this. What was her thing going in to become Catholic? Did you have a big part of that, or did you give like, hey, you got to become Catholic, or what?
No, there was no.
There was no
stipulations
or anything like that, right?
This is honest. There was no stipulations. Like when we met with Father Mark, and he kind of put down the, "Are you going to raise your kids Catholic?" And I'm like, sure. That's the plan, right?
Yeah.
I hated that question.
Of course, my wife is.
There she is again. Here
my wife at the time was like, "We have to make
this
this decision now," But that's like part of the deal.
Yeah.
So we agreed. She started coming to Mass because after we got married, we had decided to go. So actually, even the Episcopal priest that we were working with in Lockport that did the ceremony, like he goes, it's important that you go to, find a service to go to. Go to a service. Like,
right.
So he wasn't stressing like, oh, if it's Episcopal. Like he kind of like was advertising for it a little bit. But we had found St. Joe's, and they were fairly welcoming. They were really welcoming.
Our St. Joe's, right?
Our St. Joe's was, yes. And like when we had to move, Rick Navarro like basically moved us, like, and
Rick's a man.
Brought us into the nights, and what I mean. So
He
they
really
did
is,
all
though.
these
Let's be real.
things that were welcoming.
Goals. You're talking about goals over there. Hashtag goals, dude.
Another goal. He's got some great stories. We should bring him.
Goals in terms of like looking good at that age.
Oh my gosh, yeah.
Well, I look terrible at age 30,
dude. we need to bring him on how to deal with Jehovah's Witnesses. He gave me some great tips.
But cool though.
So Father Mark wrote down like our interests, and and he remembered that Allie sang. So he called and asked her to be in the choir. So they kind of
that's how they got me. They got me with the Lenten mission. They're like, "Hey, you should come."
All those sneaky Catholics.
And I'm like, "I'm not Catholic." She said, "Doesn't matter. You can help out. You can play some music."
Got him.
So
first step.
So they kind of like cemented
yeah
us going even more, and then Allie wanted to receive communion, so she checked out our CIA.
Oh, cool.
What did I say? Hold on. What did I
No, that's what she put in there, that she wanted to receive communion. Okay. So.
Dude, this is the best already, dude.
Allie, we got you next week.
Allie, we do got you next week, by the way.
We'll
are
do
getting
the plug next.
Yeah.
We'll do the plug. For
yeah,
Allie.
we'll definitely do
get her side of the story.
We'll see if they match up at all.
Exactly. It's almost like the wedding show or whatever, the dating game.
I don't remember what it's called.
Nah, they'll match up.
So she wanted to receive communion. Was it what was? I mean, obviously you know your wife. What was the biggest thing? Why did she want to receive communion?
Well, she was Episcopal. We were going, and like honestly, the one thing, and you talk about like cementing like your belief, and I don't like praying for myself, okay? But the one thing I prayed for, now there was, and it wasn't even like really being Catholic that I was fearful when I got married that could be a roadblock in our marriage. It was actually the life issue. That was like the biggest. That was a thing, and she can tell you the story how that went down.
Her coming on and talking about that.
Sure. First woman, by the way.
So
pretty awesome.
That was the one thing that I kind of prayed for. That I was silently praying for.
Wow.
Was kind of like her conversion. So her coming into the Catholic Church was like kind of that first, big step. So like, from my side of view, like that.
Hold on, wait, you're saying that you can't be pro-choice and be Catholic? Is that what you're saying?
Well, you can, obviously, right?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, sorry. All right, continue.
No, but I think the craziest part is that you were silently praying for that, and that's become almost the biggest strength of both of you now.
Well, that's why we want to have Allie on.
That's amazing. That's some grace.
That's some for life.
That's some grace. That's some providence right there. That's insane. That's
power
awesome.
Prayer.
Praise God. Yeah.
She was the head of like the women's center in Gettysburg. Like, she was a little bit on a different political spectrum than I was in most regards. So that, like that, for me, like that's the big takeaway, like in the story. Like that was the one thing that I prayed for. And we never, like, we debated everything.
Nice.
Okay?
Yes.
It was like part of
yes.
like we would just
dude,
like
imagine being that fly in that room. Just for those debates, dude.
So, like, I don't know. I remember one of the first times we hung out, before we were dating, she had, like, rum from Nicaragua or something. And she, like, toasted the Sandinistas. And I'm like, were they the bad guy? We're just being simplistic for sure. And she goes, no. And I go, were you there? She goes, I was. So, like...
Text incoming right now.
No, she'll tell that story.
For
sure.
I hear
like that, and so like we were definitely on different, but we would like debate these things pleasantly for hours upon hours, along with other things,
right?
Just banter, talking, or whatever. But that, like, abortion was actually something we never ever. It came up once. I think Bush might have had a nominee to the Supreme Court. And she goes, this might overturn Roe versus Wade. And I go, that's a good thing. And she's like, like, no, it's not. Like, and I'm like, well, it would send it back to the States and people would have a say or whatever.
Right.
And, like, basically she was like, well, we can never talk about this.
Oh, so you were open to talking about it, but Allie kind of put her foot down on it a little bit? Or I'm going to get a text.
No, I don't know. Yeah, I would say, like... Was I open to talking about it?
It was.
Sure.
It was definitely like the.
I don't like offending people,
right.
So but it was definitely.
You could tell it was
thing.
Definitely like the thing you could not talk about.
That was that was the one thing that I worried about.
Right.
Right. As we got married.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
I mean,
silent prayers worked out.
Yeah. Right.
Amen.
So.
Yeah. Pray. Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, and we're gonna actually have, like I said, we're gonna have Allie on. I think we're talking, the next time we get
episode,
together,
for sure,
to kind of talk about that conversion to being pro-life. So I'd like to kind of talk a little bit about your experience. I mean, like, so all of that, like, is in a span of, up until now, you've been in Maryland for.
I'm gonna kill you, Josh. You gotta talk.
Oh my gosh!
Yeah.
Hello.
There you
go. You've
you can turn your mic sideways. By
been
the way,
in Maryland for like 13 years now. You said, and then 2020 happened, and now it feels like you've been in Maryland for 50 years.
It's the truth, though. Let's be real.
I guess it kind of feels like it's April 2nd, or you know what I mean? Like,
oh yeah,
time's been long, but it's been short too. I
mean, because you're in the public school system, and everything got shut down pretty quickly. I feel like everything in the world shut down like instantly. So kind of like at the beginning of all this. How was that for you? I mean, like, because like not only are you a teacher, so this impacts like obviously your job, but also you're a dad.
Well,
so
at the very beginning, we're pretty busy. I was looking at Facebook and like looking at my posts, and I shared, and she actually was the head of the Catherine Foundation before she moved, but she put like a meme that this is March 5th. That was like, adulthood is constantly saying next week things are going to slow down. You know what I mean? Like, that was March 5th. Well, what happened the next week? Things slowed down a little bit. You can
build a fire pit.
Yeah. Yeah. So actually, like, I remember, like, I was finishing up wrestling season. Okay, I'm a wrestling coach.
Nice.
We coached our kids' indoor track team. We run Maryland Right to Life together. It was birthday season, and we were gonna do a big party at Lackey. We probably invited you guys, or we're going to.
Yeah, I was. I remember that invite, and then I remember the text.
Yeah. So we were gonna do this big party at Lackey, a swim party, and I was gearing up to do Unified Track, which is a program I coordinate for Charles County Public Schools, and it was like just like this constant go, okay? So when it first happened, for the first week or two, like, Allie was going into work, and I didn't have anything to do, so I was doing homeschooling with the kids, and then it was kind of, okay, well, I got a week vacation, then it was 2 weeks vacation, and then it started, going on from there. So initially, like, it was kind of like, like I remember saying we didn't get a snow day and being like, oh, we didn't even get a snow day this year.
Oh,
you
we
know
got,
what I mean? Like, so
we got some days.
it's like, be careful what you wish for, obviously. Like, I was telling my coworker, I'm never going to say that again.
Yeah.
So initially, like, it wasn't awful. But, you know, being a homeschooling father, it's interesting. Like, as we got into it, as we got into April, as it stretched out, and it became apparent that we were not going back to any type of normalcy, like, and we were, like, being segregated. Like, at the time, this would have been frowned upon. We had under basically a stay-at-home order. You know, what we're doing right now, was seeing the effects on my kids. Because, like, our school didn't shut down. Our school kept on going, right? But it was like everything that they lost and the stressors on them that became very apparent.
So, yeah, what are some ways that it really seemed to impact, like, not just like your kids personally, but also, I mean, you've got these kids that you're coaching, so like you're part of their lives, you know, and so suddenly kind of just be cut off from that.
True.
Did you have any kids kind of reaching out to you? Are you seeing any of them?
A few.
Since then,
I mean, a few. Unfortunately, my wrestling program is not extremely successful, so our team is small, and it's actually one of the big challenges right now. Is like, how am I gonna grow that team when I can't see the kids?
Yeah.
I worry about more like I run these programs called Unified Sports, which is kids with and without disabilities practicing on the same playing and practicing on the same teams.
Yeah.
And like I worried about like the missed opportunities for those students because they, you know, a lot of their fitness comes through those sports, a lot of their socialization, a lot of their, you know, like we're coming up on a year since we've run one of those programs, you know. We lost track, we lost tennis, you know, so that's the big one.
I want to just rewind a little bit because I have a major question. On this podcast, we've done an episode. I used to be in the private sector and teaching. I did teach at Catholic school, and we've done episodes where we talked about Catholic school versus homeschool versus public school because I am a product of public school. I've taught in Catholic schools for a long time, and obviously the homeschool component comes in because my former co-host, they're homeschooling. Can you talk a little bit? And I think this is really important for dads and for parents to understand kind of the Catholic school versus public school versus homeschool. For you guys personally, what made you guys obviously homeschool now, but coming from the public school sector, like what made you want to go that route of homeschooling? Because if you look at like, especially today now, obviously we have a huge argument of not doing public school because of things like critical race theory and the things that the agenda that's being pushed through the government, through public schools, like talking about sex education in kindergarten and stuff like that. Were those things kind of like why you wanted to go homeschool, or was there like really a big different reason why you guys wanted to go homeschool?
I think there were a few. Number one, Allie went from work, you know, she taught in Charles County for 2 years as a special educator, and then she got caught up with kind of a homeschooling group. Okay, and they actually helped her quite a bit. And being a teacher, and she decided she didn't want to teach anymore and wanted to stay home, it became very natural at that point. From my perspective, like I think individuality and freedom are pretty paramount. Like that's what we strive for. So like if you want that in education, like you kind of probably have to do it yourself.
Right.
You know, and you know, you could talk a lot about the logistics of public education and whatnot, and compare and contrast to homeschooling. But for me, like that's the reason. Another reason is like we have a pretty diverse friend group, like our kids do. You know, they play with the kids in the neighborhood. They play on the teams with the kids in the neighborhood. This, you know, the soccer teams, you know. But when it comes to like, you know, controlling and being a part of their social group.
Yeah.
That's a big part of it too.
Yeah.
The curriculum part, it could definitely be there, but that's more of like an individual, like teacher. Like you really have to know who your kids teachers are.
Yeah.
And pay attention to what they're learning.
Right.
And what their teachers are presenting. The curriculum itself, like even in high school, I don't know what they call it. I don't think they call it sex ed, but there's an opt out for it. And they're trying to how do you do that virtually or whatnot? So you actually do have some control if your kids are going to public education.
I was wondering about that. Like if you like not just the sex ed, but like parents do have an ability to kind of talk to their teachers and kind of see what their kids are learning. Because I know that there was they were talking about. I saw an article where a teacher was upset that parents were sitting in on Zoom conversations. But in Charles County, like, is it fair to say that parents do have accessibility to like the teachers and stuff like that? Because like Cecilia's only like she's coming on
during the virtual learning, parents are actually required to be there.
Awesome. Okay.
At least and I don't know for high school how much are required, but like the kids I teach in the lower grade level, it's like they're required to be there. Like they're actually required to be part of the supervised educational process.
Like not like but like listen like within earshot, or are they like participating? Because that would be hard with like parents who are trying to work.
No, not participating, but they're there to help supervise the kids.
It's kind of like
I mean, it's actually like so. I work with students. The classes I teach virtually are students with behavior problems. So for me, it's like cool, like when you see a parent like interacting by like moving the webcam to show that the student's doing it, and you know what I mean. Like to me, that's like no, but that's like a nice insight, like because these are students that might have struggled behaviorly. So it's like some people blame the parents or blame that, and I don't like that. I think we all have issues as people. You know what I mean? Like we all have. Most of us are like pre-COVID, like we're just kind of doing the best we can.
Right.
And then if you have a student or kid with a behavior problem, like it might be hard to handle. So I don't blame parents for that. But it's nice to see them like involved and care about what their students are doing.
Right.
Or their kids are doing, I should say.
Very cool. Is it okay if I ask more questions?
Yeah, go for it.
I think one of the biggest reasons why we have you on is because you not only are you a fellow Catholic dad, but you also come from the education, like working within the education system, working in the education system. Two questions for you. Number one, obviously we have a huge election coming up, and one of the biggest conversations is about school choice. Just real quick, as Catholic parents, your thoughts on school choice. Are you for it? Are you against it? And then I'll get to my second question after your first question.
Well,
after
I mean,
we talk
obviously
about
we homeschool our kids.
Right.
So I think that speaks right there. Like, yeah, I am for school. Like, I'm for choices across the board,
Sure.
In general. So
except for the one big choice.
well, right. Yeah. I mean, but that's
just want to say, just
we're about life, liberty, property.
Right.
Life
For
is
sure.
important. So, yeah, I am. I'm for school. And like,
can you talk a little bit about like what the big issue with like why is the right? I guess you say the right. Why is the right for school choice? And I think the biggest misconception is like why are people against school choice? Because you think like in principle school choice is a good thing.
You have. I mean, and it comes down to like people that are invested in public education, they're experts, and like everything is standards based. We had I mean, I don't know if when you were teaching, but I got into education during No Child Left Behind, which was kind of like the nationalization of public education, and with that came funding, but it came criteria. And when I got into education, like it was all about making annual yearly progress and reading and math. And
Right.
it's like it was like high pressure, high stakes to keep funding.
Oh yeah, 100%.
You know, and at the time, like, there was a debate. It's like, well, give choice to parents, or are we going to raise everybody by raising the standards?
Right.
And then what followed No Child Left Behind was Race to the Top, and then the national curriculum / standards and the strands that people are supposed. So the people that are in education, like, they want to raise education through, like, those standards, like raising everybody up to those standards. And I don't necessarily know if it's like, I don't think it's nefarious. Like, I think they believe that is how, you know, we're going to, you know, they'll talk about equality and making things equal for people.
Right.
And, you know, but you know, again, I believe, you know, like I was saying earlier, like, I don't blame parents. Like, I think parents know what's best for their kids.
Right.
You know, so offering choice, I think parents would make good decisions for their kids. You know, we trust them to make decisions about nutrition and medical care.
Cool.
And so it's like, well, why should education be any different? You know, and that's from a philosophical standpoint.
Yeah, I guess that leads me. It's a perfect segue.
Was
to
that
my
answer okay?
Yeah, no, that was good. I think that leads me to my second question, of like, I know so many families and parents and dads have questions about, you know, especially with everything going virtual and, you know, school not being traditional anymore. What would you say to fellow dads or you know, parents of someone who is struggling with, should I pull my kids out and homeschool? Is there, like, what would you say to those people who are fearing doing that, or even just thinking about doing something different, like either going private school? Because a lot of the private schools are going in-person class, and public schools are going towards virtual, and homeschooling kind of being in the middle of
I would
all
say
of it.
The biggest thing is understanding that, you know, you are the expert on your kids.
Right.
You're the expert. You have more information about your kids
Amen.
than anybody else. So, you know, some might fit into the public education system and do fine, and that's fine. But you have more information, so don't be afraid to use that information to do what you think is best. So, you know, I would definitely encourage, like, and that's actually the great thing. Like, there is some benefit to what we're seeing now, is that you have what they call pod schools. You have, like you said, private education schools that, you know, I drive by Southern Christian Academy every day.
Yeah.
I think of you, Josh.
Oh my
And
my alma mater.
you know, I actually go that way. I could take Turkey Hill, but no, I go by Southern Christian
Is
Academy.
that an honor for me?
It is. And I, you know, like, I see up there, it's like, you know, they have like 3 circles with, you know, in person, hybrid, virtual.
Right.
You know, so, like, don't be afraid to explore the different avenues for, and, like, even when, if it's even possible for us to go back to, quote, normal, whatever,
Right.
if that ever, whatever that is, whenever it happens, always remember that you are the expert. You know, you are the expert for your children. You have more information. And, you know what I mean? Like, you know, and I like to say, like, if you're a dad, be a dad.
Right.
You know, so, you know, same thing. If you're Catholic, be Catholic. You know, so it's like, if you're going to invest, you know, take the time. And, you know, it might be, you know, our kids return to public education. It's possible. I would say a little bit less so now than 6 months ago. But, you know, I have a dream of, they hate wrestling now, but I have a dream of, you know,
Wrestling's the ultimate COVID spreader sport right now, dude. You know.
oh, you should see the social distancing guidelines for wrestling. They're awesome.
Are they wearing masks?
It's like
They better be wearing
it's air
masks.
fives, right? It's like air fives or air rock paper scissors.
No,
now, right?
it's great. It's like, don't shake hands before the match.
And then
Maul
get
each
right
other
on
for
top of
6
each other.
minutes, but don't shake hands. Don't have the referees.
Oh,
So whatever.
gosh,
But that's a whole
dude.
different subject.
Yeah,
But,
yeah.
like, you know, so, like, yeah, it might be, like, it's a possibility, but don't be afraid because it's not, quote, normal or whatever, to explore those different options. You know, and I would endorse homeschooling.
Yeah.
And if anybody wanted help, I would help them with it.
Amen.
Awesome.
Amen. Where can people, be real quick, where can people learn more about homeschooling? We're running out of time, actually, but if you really wanted to learn more about homeschooling, where would someone go?
Allie Rock.
we'll have Allie on. Maybe she.
We will.
I mean, honestly, that's probably a good question. She could, because she does the instruction, she knows much more about where to get the curriculum from, Amen. Where and I've definitely been a part of that, but she could take an hour talking about that.
Well, we got one final question for you before
I got one last one, but it's a real quick one though. Go ahead.
Oh, you go first. Mine is the final question.
Okay. Well, I was gonna say mine's kind of like the one where we talk about every guest we have.
You took my final question.
I don't know if we have. Go ahead.
My final question was, how do you Catholic dad?
There we go. Boom.
I took it
my
from
question.
You. Actually, I saw that arrow in your quiver, and I was like, that one's gonna be mine.
That's fine with me, dude. That's
okay,
awesome.
so every time we have a guest on, we have to ask them.
We do have Catholic dads on mostly.
Ask them how they Catholic dad.
Really, the question is all about where do you find, I guess, quote unquote, success in leading your family? Because as men, we're called to be pastors, protectors, providers for a family. Like, where do you find what helps you to lead your family ultimately to get to heaven?
Where does it starts with going to mass every week. Like, that's the bedrock. That has to happen. You have to go to mass, and in your days of obligation.
You got to get that time with Jesus.
I mean, that's where it starts.
Yeah.
Being involved in ministries, helps. But that, to me, that's the starting gate.
Right.
To like I just said, if you're gonna be a dad, if you're going to be Catholic, be Catholic. So,
amen to that.
From there, I would say, am I a perfect Catholic? No.
it's
I'm still growing.
That's literally this podcast.
But I don't know, we say the rosary every night.
Amen.
And
y'all should be doing that at home, too.
And as a family, 80% of nights at this point, we're, even, I don't know if we'll get into tonight as a family, we'll say it, but, saying rosaries together, making sure we're praying before meals, those are the little steps, again, there's always more you can do, but starting there and trying to branch off, and learning more about your faith from there. And then, when you take those little steps, it just kind of opens the door to something else.
Amen to that.
Cool.
All right. Well, hey, let's so I'm gonna make a quick announcement about the Catholic Man Challenge.
Cool.
We're continuing that, and then I think we maybe say St. Michael the Archangel prayer, and let you close with any announcements you have.
Seth, is there anything we can pray for you and your family or anything like that at this moment? Or because usually at the end of every episode we talk about prayer intentions, and so anything we can pray for you.
The big thing we're praying for now is our country.
Yeah.
So country as a whole, obviously I have my own beliefs and perspectives, but we could be in a rough spot. So praying for peace, praying for civility, a return to civility on all sides. So to me, being able to sit down and have conversations with people, open conversations with people, that would be what I would pray for right now.
Amen.
John, what you got?
Yeah, no, I agree. I think more than ever, there's this thing where you can't endorse someone or you might get canceled. Or I just want to pray for open minds, and even if you don't agree, I think there needs to be a more intention of being okay to disagree and to really see each other as human beings and not seeing each other as enemies. For sure.
Oh yeah. For me, so my grandmother actually has been kind of struggling a little bit lately. She had shingles. So my family, we went through COVID. COVID ran through the Namus family. My grandmom didn't get it, but I think all the stress from seeing my family kind of going through COVID put enough stress on my grandma to where she got shingles. So she's been in a lot of pain lately, and they're trying to kind of figure out how to work with that. So if anybody out there listening, if y'all could keep Pat Namus in your prayers,
Amen.
She's in a lot of pain, and she needs that,
And before we go, please follow us on Spotify. We're on Spotify. We're on Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, and YouTube and Facebook. Yeah. Seth, thank you so much.
Thank you.
We really appreciate it. What do you think?
We'll see.
Yeah.
All right. Well, you guys, real quick, we're currently with our Catholic Man Challenge. We've altered it for the month. We're now doing. We're still doing fasting on Wednesdays and Fridays, and we're abstaining from sugar and alcohol
Except for Sundays.
Except for on Sundays. That's because that's a feast day. That's a time to celebrate the resurrection of our Lord.
Right.
So let's end with St. Michael the Archangel, and then we'll get closed with the song.
Amen.
All right. In the name of the Father, the Son, and the Holy Spirit. Amen. St. Michael the Archangel, defend us in battle, be our protection against the wickedness and snares of the devil. May God rebuke him, we humbly pray. And do thou, O Prince of the heavenly host, by the power of God, cast into hell Satan and all the evil spirits who prowl about the world seeking the ruin of souls. Amen.
Next week we have Seth's wife, I think.
So we're gonna get the other half of the story.
We'll get her on.
There's one half.
Amen, guys. All right, take care. Thank you so much.
Peace.
Bye.